Hey, how's it going, everybody? Coach Steven here, and today I'm going to be taking you through a functional mobility and flexibility routine. A lot of people have a misconception about flexibility training, and when you do flexibility training, a lot of the time, the way most people do it, it's counterproductive. When you do flexibility training, what most people are trying to do when they do flexibility training is actually mobility training. You need functional mobility, and flexibility is only one component of functional mobility. So you need the range of motion in the joint, the length of the muscle, the length of the connective tissue. There's part of the flexibility component in that. But you don't just need flexibility, you need functional range of motion. You need control. You need function of the range of motion that flexibility gives you. Excuse me. If you don't have control, if you aren't able to stabilize the range of motion you have, one of your body's natural adaptive protective mechanisms is to connect that tissue, is your connective tissue. It tightens it down. If you have range of motion in a joint that you cannot control, it is a liability. It is a risk for injury. You risk tearing the muscles, you risk tearing the ligaments, you risk grinding the joint through uncontrolled click range of motion. So basically, when you do flexibility training, you want to be doing functional mobility training, not just flexibility training. You don't want to mindlessly stretch out a muscle and then create an imbalance on a joint. Okay, so that's a little bit of a spiel quickly on the difference between flexibility training and functional range of motion training. You want functional mobility, not just flexibility. Alright, so when you're doing stretching, always couple that stretching with active use of the range of motion you've gained. So if you want to stretch out your pecs, then you want to create active range of motion. Utilize your back muscles. Take the joint, the shoulder, for example. You need to then if I want to stretch this out, a lot of people have very tight shoulders. So the shoulder will sit like this. The pec minor runs across, touches to the top of the acromion process, top of the scapula, the shoulder blade. So the muscle here runs across and attaches to the top of the shoulder blade, which is the bone on the back here, and actually hikes it up, pulls it up and over. If your pecs are really tight, you need to stretch those out. When you stretch them out, you also want to create activation in the muscles in the back, because now they've been in an over-lengthened state for a very long period of time. So when you stretch them out, when you stretch out the front, you want to activate the back. You want to re-tension, recalibrate the system tension in a more functional manner. Alright, so stretching, couple stretching with activation. So use those muscles, activate the muscles in the back, utilize the range of motion in a very controlled, intentional fashion. You need your brain, your nervous system to reap, to harvest that range of motion. It needs to integrate it, it needs to map it out, it needs to make it part of the range of motion that your brain has calibrated as usable. Without that, if you just stretch, without integrating that recovered range of motion, your body, it's the unknown, it's chaos, it's risk of injury. Your brain and your nervous system, if it hasn't mapped it out, if you haven't developed neuromuscular control, your body's going to go, no, it's dangerous, and it's going to tighten down your connective tissue and lock the joint back down. So you're going to stretch it out, and your body's going to go, oh, this is too loose, and it's just going to lock it right back down again. Okay, so I've circled back to this point a few times because I've tried to explain this numerous times to clients, and a lot of times they nod and they smile and they go, yes, and then they go back to doing the same thing they were doing. So I really need you to get this. If you want to develop functional range of mobility, stretch, activate, integrate the range of motion. You need to have a degree of strength to harvest that range of motion, to integrate it. Okay, oh, now I'm messing with the focal point. Hopefully it'll go back. Hopefully it'll go auto. All right. Okay, so jumping into it here. So we're going to be doing mostly a leg mobility routine. So starting off, both feet facing forward. You want to take a comfortable distance for you apart. And then breathe. Breathing is key. When you're stretching, when you are integrating new range of motion, when you are exploring joint range of motion, you need to be in a relaxed frame of mind. And this is not just some pseudoscience, it is very concrete training methodology. Like, if your nervous system is not relaxed, your muscles, the way your nervous system stimulates and interacts with your connective tissue and your muscles, you will not be able to properly explore range of motion, loosen up and reintegrate it if you are stressed and in pain and overstretching. You need your nervous system to go, okay, this is safe, I'm comfortable, explore, stretch. A little bit further, okay, this is safe, explore, stretch. That's how you get an effective stretch. It's why you should calibrate how much you're stretching with your breathing. Because if your breathing is strained, that's a clear indication that you are stretching too hard. You're not allowing your nervous system to relax. You are going further than your body can comfortably tolerate in that moment, and your body's going to fight you. And you don't want to fight with your body, you want to synchronize with your body, you want to harmonize with your body. Do that through your breathing. Allow yourself to relax. You don't want to hold your breath. You don't want to strain. You don't want your blood pressure to go up. You don't want veins bulging in your head. This is not an effective way to stretch. Okay. So I know this is taking quite a lot of explanation, but that's what it is. This is more of an explanatory video. You need to understand the concepts, because then you can apply them to any number of different stretch videos and routines that you have. Okay, so here my foot is turning out quite a bit, and I want to focus on core activation, but also hip extension and alignment through my foot, ankle, knee, and hip joint, which sits in the pelvis here, across into the opposite hip joint, down into the knee and ankle. So I want a line of tension there. Flies are a nuisance. Yes, so I want that line of tension, and then I want to play with rotation of the hip. So here I'm going to turn the hip over, and I'm going to utilize movement in the knee, ankle, and midfoot and ball of the foot, synchronized to turn over. So now I'm getting a more magnified, or what I'm feeling is a much more magnified stretch in the hip flexor coming across, so the psoas muscle. And I want to turn that over. This turning over position is a very athletically common motion for transferring of energy. Utilize this, there's balance. Utilize this in walking, running, throwing, punching, because this motion here goes into like a bow stance. I'm exaggerating the movement here, but that helps you turn your weight over, allows you to utilize your center through your pelvis, utilizing your hip. Okay, now I can bring that back, turning the hip back. So now I had a closed position of the hip, open position of the hip. This open position of the hip, I want hip extension and external rotation, abduction. So I'm getting this opening up effect. This would be more of a jab, whereas the other one was a cross. I'm going into a closed position. This would be more of a jabbing position. I'm open, and this line here, you see it's also very similar to a warrior pose in yoga. So this line is structurally, geometrically very powerful. It would allow me to receive and give energy very effectively because of the geometric configuration of the joints. If I had to receive a force this way, I'm locked into the floor. So that's why I could, with the jab, I could throw the jab out. It's a very long, extended position, and I don't want to get into the technicalities of this I'm not going to get into the technicalities of fighting stance, position, strategy, stance length, and all of that. Just know geometrically. And in terms of geometry, and body tension, body architecture, this makes perfect sense. It's very effective posture. Okay. So we had closed position, open position. You want to hang out in these positions for quite a while to allow your bodies to stretch out and become comfortable in the new range of motion. I'm going to switch over and do the other side. I'm not going to do it for as long. I will do a proper stretch routine in my own time. Again, this is more of an explanatory video. So, linking shoulder and the hip. So you can see open, close, open, close, open. You can take the heel down, go to extreme of the open. Try bring this knee out, get a nice line there. Okay, I can integrate upper body usage as well here. Over, over, can stand out, forward, forward, back, over the top, back, down to the ground, straighten, bend. There's a million variations here. You want to explore the different variations and you want to be mindful of symmetry. So what I'm doing is not symmetrical to what I do on the other side. You want to maintain symmetry. I'm just trying to show you here variations as we go along. Okay, opening up. Almost feel like a ballerina. I know that may not appeal to a lot of guys out there, but there is great value in poise and grace, in fluidity and motion, in spontaneity of motion, being able to adapt to a situation and circumstance, operate effectively. Grace and poise allows you to do that. You need a degree of suppleness and fluidity in your body to be able to. You look at any master boxer, kickboxer, Muay Thai fighter, they have grace and poise. They have fluidity, they have spontaneity, they have high adaptive competence. This kind of training is very good for that. Okay. So, the rotation. So yeah, this would be cross, jab, 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 cross. Okay. So we've got this position mapped out. Going to move on a bit further. So you're going to play with. I'm going to talk about this in the context of a front kick and a side kick. It needs context, and I'm going to try and keep this as simple as possible. So yes, with a front kick and a side kick. A front kick, you want your lead leg, your front leg, facing forward. The back leg is facing, I would say, 15 to 20 degrees out to the side. There are variations of this depending on your specific body mechanics, your bone structure. This will alter slightly. So you're going to find where you're comfortable. But know that the front leg is straight, the back leg is angled. Excuse me. Okay. So here, I'm going to go a bit wider because I'm a little bit looser. I don't have amazingly flexible legs. I've sustained severe ankle ligament injuries, knee injuries, cartilage injuries, repair, hamstring pulls. What the condition you're in is not important. How you go about improving your condition is important, and that's what this video is about, the process of improvement. Okay, so here, I'm extending out. I can bend front leg, sink down, sink the center of gravity down and slightly forward. Okay, come back and take the knee out to allow my center to drop back. So I'm bringing this knee out to drop my center. Okay, and I can feel I need to turn my foot to make sure there's a good synchronized motion, biomechanic kinetic linking between all of the foot, midfoot, heel, knee, hip. See, this will now allow me to drop down. So now I can play with this position. Here, I can. So this would be the front kick. Bam, 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 bam. Kicking with the front leg. Now I'm playing pulsing motion, so actually activating the muscles in different sequences. This is the kick. Bang, 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 bang. Playing with the timing. Bang, wave. Wah, wah, wah. Quick simultaneous. Bah, 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 bah. Okay, front kick here. This would be your side kick. So this would now be my base leg, and this would be my kicking leg. Whereas before we were doing base leg, kicking leg, visualizing. So I'll be kicking with this leg. Now we're going to be visualizing kicking with that leg. So I'm going to play with the alignment. Bring a nice straight line through from the floor, through the legs, through the pelvis and the hips. So hip, pelvis, hip, knee, heel. Play with visualizing, driving that force from this side. Whoa, into the heel, into the heel, into the heel, into the heel. Play with pulsing back and forth. Again, this is using different kinetic linking, functional movement patterns, training neuromuscularly how to fire the muscles, but also your brain's mapping out the relationship of tension and positioning between all the different segments. This is very important. Okay, so kick there, kick there, kick, kick. Okay, playing with settling down, stretching out, out, back, out, back, out, back. Okay, you can play with many different variations of this. Go heel up, then turn the foot over, focus more on the adductors on the inside here. So before we were hitting hamstring, getting this hip out and open, and turn over, come up, push the hips through, get a line through here now. So heel, this knee was going to be out of line, but heel, hip, hip, knee, and heel that side. Then you can play with bringing that down, stretching the inside here. So turning over, back, turning up, dropping down. Okay, other side. Again, see this line. This line is very important. The geometry and synergy of the motion is very important for transfer of energy. Ha, 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 ha. Oops, lost my balance a little bit. Okay, so we're there. Turn over, turn out. So extend. Open, close, open, close. Down. Down, down, down. So light bouncing, this is useful for fascial conditioning, your fascia, connective tissue, myofascia. This is a different anatomical structure to your muscles, but it has a high elastic component, higher potential for storing elastic energy. So things like ballistic stretching and bouncing, you're training your fascial system. If you do it with control, if you do it deliberately, safely, intentionally, it's a very important system that needs to be trained. But you need to understand that it and the muscular system are not the same thing. A lot of people don't understand that. All right, so how you move determines what adaptations you are going to trigger. All right, so you need to have variety and variation and challenge your body in different ways to develop not only range of motion, but strength in that range of motion, control in that range of motion, coordination from that range of motion, transitioning to a different position. These are all aspects that need to be trained. Okay, so looking at transitions quickly, could have deep squat. Okay, so a deep squat, but now I'm on the balls of my feet. This is more of a bouncing position, more of a ready to go. So it's not so, you can use it as a resting position. It is quite comfortable, but a more specialized resting position would be to go down to the heels if you have the flexibility. This would be more like, hey guys, we're sitting around a campfire, we've done our day's hunting and we've fished with spears and we've got our kill on the fire and we're busy making little things and sharpening our spears. This is an anatomical resting position of the human species, one that unfortunately most of us have lost the ability to actually enter just from lack of usage of the range of motion that our body's designed for. We sit in chairs for hours and hours every day, sleep for 8 hours, sit in a chair for 9 to 12 hours. You know, we do very little exercise in the remaining couple hours that we have each day. So yeah, the joints get weak, or rather the muscles and the stabilizing muscles get weak, you lose coordination, your brain and your nervous system hasn't mapped out how to handle the movement. You've lost neuromuscular control. You've lost the ability to enter that range of motion. You've lost the ability to stabilize that range of motion. Your body's locked down that tissue in order to protect you. That's why most people can't enter into a simple position like sitting on your haunches in a squat position. This is your birthright. This is one of the most fundamental human positions in existence. This is up there with lying on your stomach, lying on your back. You should be able to do this effortlessly. All right. And then being able to transition, from this position into other positions. So standing should be effortless. That's normal. Being able to do these things is not impressive or superhuman. Not being able to do them is a big problem. Right. Okay, so we've got sitting down on our haunches, sitting in a kneeling, one knee down, one knee up, transitioning, one knee down, one knee up, turning back, sitting down, coming up, sitting down, coming up the other side. Oh, what's that over there? Oh, let me grab this. Oh, you wanted this? There you go. There it is. Oh, I need to get this up quiet, quickly, cool. Sit back here, cut for a little while. Oh, wait, I'm going to grab that thing. You know, these basic transitions of being down on the ground here, your knees, ankles, hips, your spine, your pelvis are naturally calibrated by these movements. Not being able to do them is a big problem in ways that you wouldn't expect, wouldn't initially connect. Not being able to do these positions means your kinetic system, your kinetic linking, your body tension is messed up in all these different kinds of ways. You're more susceptible, more susceptible to injury, strain. Your blood circulation is not going to be very good because you've got tissue restriction, locked down on joints, around your muscles, around neurovascular bundles. You've got nerve impingement, you've got blood flow impingement. Your digestive system's not going to function as effectively because you don't have the extension and mobility in your spine, in the tissue in and around your organs, in your abdomen, that would be present just from doing these different motions. You're changing the intra-abdominal pressure in your abdomen. You're stretching out various tissues. You are activating blood circulation, lymph circulation, neuromuscular control. You're stimulating your nervous system in ways that it's meant to be stimulated. So I think I'm going to end off there because I've given you a whole bunch of information, and hopefully you're starting to be able to connect the dots of injury, sickness, lack of mobility, tightness, chronic pain interact. Because they do. They all have transactional relationships. They're all interconnected with how we move our body, how we use our body. Do we do what we're designed to do, or do we sit in chairs for 12 hours, go lay on the couch for another 3, then go lay in a soft bed that doesn't help with realigning yourself against gravity at all for another 8, and then repeat that for 20 years, and then wonder, oh, why is my shoulders, oh, my neck, oh my God, what the hell happened, oh, my back, my hip, oh, why does this happen to me, I must just be getting old. No, you're fucking up your body on a daily basis, and it's compounding for a very long time. This is not a mystery. Just see the dots, connect the dots, understand what you do every day matters. Alrighty, I'm going to end off there, guys. It's my little rant for the day. Keep well, much love. Please like, subscribe, share, comment. Tell me, what you're doing, what questions you have. If you want me to cover a topic, shoot me questions. Happy to try, rack my brain to give you some useful answers, and just be nice to engage with other people. Shed some light on common problems that we all have. I'll learn some things probably, you'll learn some things probably, we'll have some meaningful engagement. That's what it's all about. Anyway, much love, cheers. Alrighty, I'm just going to do a quick floor sequence, which I just realized I didn't incorporate in the video. So yeah, sitting down. So just to show you a couple variations of this, if I was sitting out in this position with my knees almost at 90 degrees, coming out there, so you can call it 45, 90-degree bend here, 45-degree out this way. We've got internal rotation on this one. As this one goes into internal, this other one goes over. Play with bringing this one up, over, and out, so into external rotation. Hopefully you guys aren't seeing my nuggets. Okay, so we've got transitions here. Boom. This alone is very good for the hips. Requires good core activation, utilizing body tension to remain relatively erect. Okay, so we've got here, the foot out this way. It does place a little bit of strain in the knee, but if you've got good mobility, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. You don't want to load the side in this position though, so I would say tuck underneath. And here you can play with flattening the hips and rolling the hip over. So this will create stretches here. I'm not going to do a full explanation of this. This should be a video all into itself. I'll just give you a quick rundown overview so you can get a little bit of the gist about it. So yeah, pushing the hip through and over, down, shifting the weight to this side, placing this foot flat, pulling this knee over and in. So I'm feeling a bit of pressure in the knee here, but I'm stretching this open, that open, this hip socket, over, play back, turn over, do the same thing on this side, play with pulling this one in. Okay, there, open, close, sit, shift the weight on. There we go, I can shift my weight from this side to that side. Weight on top of this foot, driving down into the heel, taking the weight away from this leg. Can lift that leg, squat position, drop, sit, come back, sit. So I've got different kneeling transitions here. Yeah, good. What's this over there? Playing with range of motion. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. And yeah, that gives you a gist of different floor positions that should just be second nature, that you should just be able to utilize without even thinking. Like you get up and walk from your TV to the fridge in the kitchen to grab something out the fridge, grab a nice little cool drink or a little snack or a chocolate bar, and you go back and you don't even think about it. That's what this kind of motion should be. It should be effortless. It should be so well ingrained into your nervous system, into your movement patterns, into your joints, that it shouldn't be strenuous. It should be easy. Okay, so I'm just trying to convey that these movements are fundamentally important. Fundamentally important. They are core. As a human being, we are designed, evolutionary, whatever you want to think of as to how we were or came to be. We are in a developmental process designed to do these movements. From a baby to crawling, to sitting, to crouching, to standing, to tabletop positions, all fours. All of these are functional ranges of motion that we are designed not just to do as we're growing up to become an adult and then never do them again. That's ridiculous. As an adult, we should still be doing these things every day. We should still be able to sit on the ground. We should still be able to play with our kids on the ground. We should be able to work here. We should be able to move around, stretch. Oh, lay on the beach. Look at the waves. This should be comfortable. This should be easy for the neck and the spine and the hips. This would calibrate your body. Oh, what's that? Yeah, okay, cool. Here's the suntan lotion. Nice. Here's a juice. Oh, let me just grab the towel and flick it out quickly. These motions should be comfortable for us. Okay. There's a little additional rant bonus footage to try help convey the point of archetypal functional movement patterns that we've lost. You know, all these ridiculous artificial constructed patterns that we do in the gym have such limited functionality unless you go through like specific specialized training programs to try integrate and mix the movement patterns. There's value in them. I don't want to bash them all together, but if you're training, if you're missing these core elements from your life, your fitness, your health is going to suffer tremendously. Spend a little bit of time becoming a functional human being, doing the simple things that human beings are meant to do. that follows the 80-20 rule. 20% of your effort there, it's going to be 80% of your health and wellness and functionality results. Like, it's huge. Get involved with becoming a more functional human being. Alrighty. Cheers, guys. I'm being attacked by little ants and little critters and little bugs, but that's not important. Much love. Cheers, cheers.